Yo, what's good, everyone? Welcome back to another Jets episode of the Knicks, Jets, etc. podcast. I'm your host, John Meleka. And as always, I'm joined by my buddy, my co-host, my pal, the Rock, the Foundation himself, my man at Winning Peak Weekly, Greg Albert. What's up, man?
What's going on, John? Happy to be back. Happy to be here for another Jets episode. A lot going on in the NFL, but even more is going on in Jets world. And I'm happy about it. I'm here to talk about it. Jets Twitter's a buzz. Jets YouTube's a buzz. People are talking. People are speculating. It's been a great couple weeks to start the offseason for us.
Yeah, I mean, coaches are moving. The AFC Championship or the Pat Mahomes Invitational, as it is these past years, that's all settled. We got Chiefs, Eagles, Andy Reid coming home, the brothers. A lot of fun things going on in the NFL. We got Sean Payton coming back. Denver hates draft picks, so that's interesting over there. And as you said, the dominoes all kind of go. So with the Denver moving on and trading for Sean Payton, we grabbed their head coach slash guy who should have been home getting paid doing nothing, our boy Nate Hackett. Lots of speculation around Nate Hackett, right? There was the initial reaction we had last episode where it was, what are we doing here? This is the Jets being incompetent, taking, a failed head coach and now just plugging him in. This must be all about Aaron Rodgers, which we'll get into later. Otherwise, it's a complete failure. It seems that nobody actually thinks that except for Jets fans, which is, I think, a good sign at the moment. I think the knock on him at this point is very, very specific. He doesn't call plays. And then when he does, he's with a good quarterback. But then we have the quarterback talking about how much he loves Nate Hackett, which we'll get to in a bit too. On Aaron Rodgers Tuesday, the Pat McAfee show. So now that the dust has settled a little bit, just on Nate Hackett himself, how do you feel about the West Coast offense staying the same? Zach Wilson, the only quarterback that's currently on our roster, he doesn't have to learn a new language. Like everyone that professional football talks about how that's the most difficult part about the whole thing. And, we got Keith Carter, the offensive lineman from the Titans. I mean, I don't even know what kind of run scheme we're going to run. I mean, is it going to be a zone? Is it going to be power? I don't really know how that's going to mix. I'm really excited about it. What are your thoughts right now on how this, the coaching room is coming up? And do you have anybody in mind for the wide receiver coach position, or we're kind of just letting that play out?
Yeah, I don't have anyone in mind off the top of my head for wide receiver position.
Or QB.
For the wide receiver coach, QB coach, nothing like that. I don't know what Marvin Harrison's doing, but if Marvin Harrison's a wide receiver coach, get those speculations about Harrison Jr. coming to be the Jet. I don't know. Maybe that's like a little, Nate Hackett, Brunson's dad coming in, a little bit of those vibes.
I forgot which coach was which coach, and honestly even which sport, whether it was the NFL or the NBA, talking about how they don't want to be that bad that they're gonna draft so high and get such a good player. Was it about Joe Burrow? I think somebody was talking about Joe Burrow, maybe. I forgot. Talking about we're never going to get a player like Joe Burrow because we're never going to lose that much. You know what I mean?
I feel like it was, I don't know why, but I feel like it was Sean McVay for the Rams talking about that when he was like on the sideline talking to someone in like NFL Films or something, caught a clip of it, and it was like all over Twitter for like a week or two. We're like, man, I wish I could draft someone like you, but I hope I never have to draft someone like you or something like that.
Yeah, so that's how I feel about Marvin Harrison. Yeah. I think he's gonna be a top 5 pick. So I mean, I'm sick of the luring of nepotism here. I mean, that's kind of what this segment's about. I'm hoping that these two coaches are standalone by themselves. I mean, I kind of want Byron Leftwich in here. That's kind of why, as a QB coach, to just hang out with Zach Wilson maybe when he's not getting yelled at by the offensive coordinator. You know what I mean? Like just like a cool
Yeah, now
guy.
that he's killed Tom Brady, bring him in, let him relax, celebrate a little bit, give him his flowers.
Yeah, I mean, I'll celebrate. I'll celebrate Leftwich walking in here.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. Passing game corner or coordinator, QB coach, that's okay with me. Um, dude, about the line coach that we got from Tennessee and Keith Carter, and I think he's also has a title of like run game coordinator as well. So I'm
Yeah,
interested to
he's the
see
run game guy, bro.
what he said. Is it scheme that we're running, or we also talked about it on the last episode, and I think people are overlooking it too. Nathaniel Hackett knows how to run the football. We talked about it with the Bills, number 1 or number 2 offense in the league. Again, with EJ Manuel as their quarterback. Then again, he went down to Jacksonville with Blake Bortles as his quarterback, number 1 rushing offense. But also, too, when you look at those stats, I think something that we didn't dive into that someone pointed out was the offenses were still like on that chart, top 10 offenses. So it's not like they were number 1 at rushing the ball and they were like, 28th or something like that at passing. They were still really good passing offense as well. They're top 10 overall
With
offense
Tannehill,
years. So
with Ryan Tannehill,
Ryan Tannehill, where
with Tennessee.
I was talking about Nate Hackett. Sorry, I'm talking
Oh,
about
okay,
Nate
okay.
Hackett when he was the OC in Buffalo, then he was the
Okay.
OC in Jacksonville. Those were some good offense that he oversaw, both the running and the passing. So when you
Mm-mm.
talk about Nate Hackett, a lot of people focus on Aaron Rodgers. I think rightfully so. Aaron Rodgers has said a lot about Nate Hackett over the last year or two. People get very caught up in recency bias in the last year. We've talked about it on this podcast. I really do believe it. Head coach is so much more than a coordinator. People don't realize that defense was when he was in Denver. That defense was cooking. It was the offense that was the problem, and offense hasn't been his problem really throughout his career. I think he ran into a Russell Wilson problem that I've been talking about for 2 years now. That is tough to overcome.
Yeah.
But
Speaking
we'll
of it,
see. We'll
speaking of,
see.
I mean, we have a Zach Wilson problem right now. That's the only
Wilson to
quarterback.
Wilson. I got a bad. It was bad vibes.
That's the only quarterback on the roster right now. Mike White, it's being reported by Rich Cimini that he's going to get about 5 to 8 million, which I think is good. And I think he's going to be a QB2 with an eye for QB1. And he has a perfect position on the LA Rams. He should go
Yep.
to LA, SoFi Stadium, indoors with McVay and just and LaFleur and just hang out, wait for Stafford to not play a full season. Baker Mayfield's going to be gone and just kind of fit in that nook there. Unfortunately, I really don't see that there's a position for him here, but let's speak about quarterback positions, man. No matter what, at most, this new coaching staff that we're talking about with Hackett and Carter have 2 years at most, right?
Yeah, at
If they don't
most.
get it together. If they don't get it
Yeah.
together. Like, of course, if we make the playoffs 2 years in a row, no one's getting fired. We're gonna celebrate, right? Even if we lose in the
Yeah,
first
I
round,
don't
that's
I don't
fine.
think a lot of people throw around like the playoff mandate. I think if we improve, especially if we improve as an offense and we stay the same as a defense, like this AFC is going to be tough for the next 10 years, right? The 3 best quarterbacks in the league are in the AFC. The AFC East is going to be brutal because the Patriots are going to figure it out eventually. It might not be next season, it might not be in 2 seasons. The Buffalo Bills are going to be good for a long time with Josh Allen. And Miami Dolphins are a quarterback away from being a tough team to compete with week in and week out. So even if we get 10 wins next year, but if we miss the playoffs with 10 wins, I
Oh
still don't
man,
think it's
Greg,
like a crazy
what are you
season
doing
and
to
people are
me?
going to get fired.
What are you doing to me on February 1st? We're on the Super Bowl bye week, and you're telling me the Jets are gonna win double-digit games next year and miss the playoffs? That I can't I
It's
cannot
a
handle that.
it's a realistic
Like,
all
right, that's a good segue
And
into
I don't I
realistic
don't think and I don't
possibility.
think Robert Saleh is getting fired if that's the case. That's my thing. That's why I think the 2 years thing is right. I don't think it's playoff or bust. Playoffs and everyone's out of here. Joe Douglas is on an extension year, I think, this year.
So you're talking.
We're
You're talking. I'll clarify for you then, without
Yep.
putting words in your mouth. It's playoff bust or double-digit wins. That's the mandate.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you
Okay,
gotta
'cause
get
we have 9
double-digit wins
wins.
this year. Because we had, what, 7 this year? So, yeah, I think you need double digits.
Okay.
I
Double
think
digit.
so.
That's Greg's mandate. Forget the Jets mandate. Greg's
Even
mandate.
if I mean, like you said, it's February 1st. Dude, the defense just or the offense just can't be like bottom third of the league. Like the offense has to look competent.
All right, let's talk. Let's talk about realistic options here, because when you're talking about offense, we're talking about quarterbacks.
Yeah.
The news that we have, good riddance to Tom Brady. He sucks. He's
I'll
gone.
believe
No,
it when I
thank
see
you.
it.
Okay, I believe it. He's done. Number 2, we have Derek Carr, who I'm so thankful for people like Connor Rodgers, people like Connor Hughes, people like Joe Caparoso, who finally have the guts to come out and say, he's just not going to fit on this team. Derek Carr is just not going to fit on this team, man. When you look into his stats, his cold weather stats, like I keep bringing up, and we're talking about like half a season worth. It's not like 1 or 2 games. Talking about like, he's bad. He's very bad in the cold. He's going to be expensive. It's not going to work here with Derek Carr, in my opinion, but he is a realistic option. We have Jimmy G, who's definitely not coming to the 49ers, in one of the most interesting press conferences I've ever seen with Kyle Shanahan today. You should have asked him, what do you think about Jimmy? And he could have been talking about Jimmy Ward or Jimmy Garoppolo. He's like, no, I knew you. He's like, he's not coming back here, which is interesting. Yeah. Now that I mentioned Jimmy Ward, side tangent real quick, the safety from San Francisco, who I've been having
Instagram
an
live.
Yeah, he went on Instagram talking about how it got cut off a little bit, but he went into Kyle Shanahan's office and told him he doesn't want to play slot corner anymore. He wants to go back to his traditional safety spot. And he's like, you want to get benched? That was his answer. So
wild.
A guy I've been looking at for a couple months here, Jimmy Ward, as a free agent. I feel like he's going to have a spot on the Jets, maybe a prove-it-year deal too, which is really nice. He's a really good player, and we need safety. So that's a side tangent. Jimmy G looks like he's going to be free. There's really only 3 realistic spots for him, in my opinion, and that's going to be the Jets, the Raiders. I'm going to say Giants. I know that's crazy. I know no one wants to say it out loud. I'm going to throw in the Rams as 4, just in case. You know what I mean? Stafford, who knows? Yeah. You know, they have the right offense. The Giants, I don't know. Another side tangent here, just a little one. I don't know what is going to happen with DJ and Saquon, but they said, the GM today said, according to Connor Hughes, is they are in negotiations a little bit with Saquon again, and they were really far apart at the last deadline, and they haven't talked to DJ yet. So who knows? So I'm just going to say that as an example. You mentioned Keith Carter. We got Ryan Tannehill. He's a $19 million dead cap cut for the Titans, who might be looking to rebuild. I don't know, though. They have Derrick Henry, and maybe Vrabel's on, who knows over there. So they have Tannehill if they're trying to move on from him.
Yep.
Those are the realistic options.
Malik Willis.
Well, they like Dobbs so much that they started him, over him. So who knows what goes on there? Maybe they're
pretty good. Josh Dobbs towards the end of the season. They're in the playoffs.
Yeah, maybe they're going to
draft at the end of the season to make the playoffs.
Maybe they're going to draft somebody else.
Yeah,
but this is all about who can fit with this guy right here, man. Who can fit with this guy right here, Nate Hackett. Those are the realistic options. Lamar Jackson is going to get exclusive tagged, which means the Ravens, yes, pay a little bit more, but they could set the price on him. It's not going to be 2 first-round picks. It's going to be at least 2 first-round picks. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be $200 million plus, maybe $250 guaranteed, plus at least 3 first-round picks. Those are those are the options, and that's why, for me, I just can't stop talking about the duo. I just can't stop talking about the Hackett-Rodgers duo.
Yeah.
So, but before we get into the full, I don't want to beat the dead horse, right? But I mean, he did. It is Aaron Rodgers Tuesday, so once a week we have a new clip of Aaron Rodgers talking about our New York Jets. He's not talking about the Las Vegas Raiders. He's not talking about the San Francisco 49ers. He's not talking about anyone. He's not talking about the Titans, even though he's in Tennessee hanging out everyone's acres in Tennessee. He's only talking about the New York Jets and sometimes the Colts, because Pat McAfee always likes to slip them in. But The Jets are always the top, but we'll get to that in a second. Before we do that, any of the quote unquote realistic quarterbacks that we mentioned, I mean, that's the market. That's what's available. Oh, also Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, right? Because
Yep.
in my opinion, I'm gonna guess that Derek Carr is gonna end up in Carolina, which means Sam Darnold maybe he's the backup, maybe looking for somewhere else. Geno Smith's gonna go back to Seattle. I guess he's realistic technically, but I think he's gonna go back to Seattle.
I think
I
so
think
too.
Jimmy G's gonna settle back in Vegas, but Baker Mayfield, maybe he wants to get a shot back in New York. We're all called stupid when Baker Mayfield was doing well and Sam Darnold wasn't, right? Like, oh, I remember diehard Jets fans coming up to me, season ticket holders. I can't believe the Jets didn't get Baker Mayfield. Oh, we missed out because he had like that little run. All right, here he is.
I'll never
Like,
forget when he came in for his first game against. It happened to be against us.
it's always against the
Come
Jets.
back and won that game. It's always against us. Absolutely.
So, and here it is. So before we get into Aaron, before we get into what he said on the Pat McAfee show regarding the Jets and Nate Hackett, the quote unquote realistic options, because I'm the delusional Jets fan, right? I always want the fool's gold at the end. Like Woody Johnson, worst owner, right? Everyone tells me he's he's a fan owner. So what do you think, Greg? Tell me. What out of these realistic options, who's going to work with this Nate Hackett and Keith Carter? Because Salah's not touching this offense. Salah has nothing to do with this offense. He's not even going near it.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just looking up. I'll try to find for next week's episode Derek Carr's games where he played in the freezing cold, because I see everywhere the stats that they have, but I don't see when the actual games were. I don't know if 3 of them were his rookie season and they stunk. I don't know if he was going up against the 2007
Fair.
Patriots every year or whatever it is.
Okay. A little bit
17
more of a
Patriots.
deep dive.
Yeah, we'll do a little deep dive in it because I see everyone talking about it, but I don't know if he's just playing awesome teams or if his team stunk or what the deal was. So we got to look into that. As far as quarterback goes, if you take out the whole cold weather thing, I do really think Derek Carr is the best option. If it's not Aaron Rodgers, obviously Aaron Rodgers #1. But to me, even with Lamar Jackson, if it's 3 first-round picks, that's tough. The money's one thing. I don't mind the money because it's not my money, and I don't think it's going to kill the cap. It seems like the cap's going up. That's another thing that came out this week about the cap moved up a significant amount. It's probably going to keep moving up a significant amount. These teams are getting bought. There's more money being spent. Bidding rights are going crazy through whether it's Amazon getting involved, all these other, broadcast people are getting involved. So broadcasting, revenues going up. So to me, I feel like Derek Carr's the best option. No picks involved. Gonna have to pay him some money, but not probably a ton of money compared to other quarterbacks.
What's if he gets
I think
cut?
I think he gets cut. I don't think he gets traded.
What's if? Yeah, I mean, they haven't given him permission to find a trade partner yet. He has a no trade clause. And
so what happens if he doesn't get cut?
Well, they owe him a bonus a couple of days after the Super Bowl. I think 3 days after the Super Bowl. So they're not going to pay it.
Right. So if he either gets cut or they pay him $6 million or $5 million, whatever the bonus is.
If he gets cut, he gets $6 million. If they keep him past that deadline, he gets a lot more. I can get you that exact figure.
Okay.
If you want, he gets.
Okay.
I think it's around 30 million.
So do you think he's going to get cut?
He has his full his full salary is guaranteed if he's on the roster February 15th.
And what's his full? Do you know his full salary? It's got to be 30 something million.
35. 34.8. Yeah, it's 35.
Yeah. So $30 million question is, within the week, is Derek Carr going to be cut? I think that's probably the case the way everything's been looking. So yeah, I think that's the best option. I mean, the other names that you're throwing out there, I think Ryan Tannehill is just a little too beat up, a little too old. I mean, if he has another season or two in him, but even with Rodgers, even with all these guys, what's the long-term thing? Are we holding on to Zach Wilson and hoping that Nathaniel Hackett and whoever else we bring in here at the QB coach can fix Zach Wilson for the long term?
Well, I think no matter what, Greg, we are looking for a new quarterback in 2 years. No matter who is our quarterback this offseason, out of all the players we've mentioned here, including the youngest of them all, like including Baker, even if we bring Sam, Gino, doesn't matter. Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr. In 2 years, we're looking for a new quarterback. So, in a way, it matters that Zach Wilson is on the squad and he continues to get better. He needs to keep getting better. He's not going anywhere.
Right.
We're not trading him, and he's going to have another opportunity no matter what, whether it's a veteran or whether it's somebody middle of the road that he's actually going to have a chance to compete with. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if it is Baker, Sam,
Gardner Minshew, whoever it might be.
any of those guys, he's going to compete.
Yeah. Heineke.
But we all know why we're all here for
We're
one
here for
reason.
one guy only. There's only one way this offseason is a rounding success. And if it's we sign number 12.
So I'm wearing a number 12.
Yes, you are.
Luckily, the Jets retired number 12. Not that other guy. The Jets retired number 12. Mr. Joe Namath came out and said he's willing to give Aaron the number 12, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see what Aaron Rodgers had to say on the Pat McAfee show regarding Nate Hackett.
We just got Nate Hackett, so yeah, it's got to be a hot topic.
We all have certain coaches that have meant a lot to us over the years and have created those really special rooms to play in, special feelings on game day, made the weeks better. Obviously, Nathaniel's one of those guys. I would say there's been a handful of coaches over the years who've been just on another different level, guys who you just kind of bonded with more than other guys. And it's not a shot at any other coach you've played with. It's just
humans,
just like with teammates. Some guys you love, and some guys you love and you spend more time with them off the field. That's why having Tom back this year was so special, because Tom has always had a special place in my heart, because he was the guy that really raised me up as a young player and spent hours and hours and hours with me on fundamentals and reads and fronts and pressures and coverages and becoming an expert at the offense. So I always loved Tom, and I love spending time with Tom over the years. Luke Getsy is always going to be a close one for me, because he's just such a special guy.
Interesting. He said Nathaniel could be anybody, though.
No, I mean, Pat McAfee teed up the question asking about whether or not coaching hires matter, or whether or not we're just playing fan fiction, as some people like to call it.
Yep.
And speaking of fan fiction, if you're watching on our YouTube right now, here's some fan fiction for you.
That's a nice looking offense, John.
Let me ask you this, Greg. The rumor that has come out today, the new news. So the new news of the week, right? I feel like it's Aaron Rodgers Tuesday, but now it's Aaron Rodgers week. What happened this week of Aaron Rodgers? We got Packers want to trade him from the reporters, so it's coming from Green Bay. We have Aaron Rodgers saying it's pretty interesting that the Packers are talking about trading him without talking to him about it first. So basically the last time he spoke to them was the exit meeting, and that was really it. And he's been on vacation. Yep. Also, I know he gets a lot of heat about essentially everything. However, he has this demeanor, and he also specifically mentioned everything right now should be about the Eagles and the Chiefs. And he's the man for doing that. Like he doesn't want the headline to be about Aaron Rodgers. He mentioned 2 weeks ago, or last week, rather. I can't believe this news is coming out. We're not even at the Pro Bowl week, and we're not even at the Super Bowl bye week yet. We're here. We're at the Super Bowl bye week, and more news is coming out, more coaching hires. And I think he feels the heat. He mentioned he's going to be on Pat McAfee show next Tuesday, but I think the Tuesday after the Super Bowl is the real episode. That for me is my pinpoint date, because don't forget, Derek Carr is due on the 15th. Super Bowl 12th, Aaron Rodgers Tuesday 14th / Valentine's Day. Derek Carr we find out exactly what's going to happen last possible date by Wednesday. It's going to be interesting. And, I also think there's going to be some coaching maneuvers from the Eagles and Chiefs that move around too. It's going to be a fun Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But just sticking with Aaron Rodgers here, the last rumor is the Jets are. This is actual rumor. This is not really sourced. This is Twitter rumors by somebody who's on and off, I would say. Jets are prepared to offer a lucrative trade, including at least one first-round pick either this year or next year. Plus, I'm going to assume at least one day 2 pick from either this year or next year. So some sort of mix, but at least one real not conditional, in like real first-round pick. And we stand at 13 right now. What are your thoughts about this? I mean, we know you already said it's only successful if Aaron Rodgers comes here and kind of fills this circle. We've mentioned that Aaron Rodgers is a 2-time MVP with Nate Hackett, and apparently that's a knock on Nate Hackett. Go figure.
Yeah.
What do you think, man? What do you think about the trade stuff? What do you think about the Aaron Rodgers rumors? Am I just being crazy? Is Jet Nation just being set up to be same old Jets and fall right flat on their face? What are your thoughts here?
I think it's one of those, I saw someone tweeted out the other day. I didn't save it. I'm mad at myself because it was funny. It made me laugh. Was like, if the Jets get Aaron Rodgers, we're like the 15-time defending offseason champions. I feel like every offseason we spin something into how the Jets won the offseason. And for 15 years since we made the playoffs, it hasn't made a single difference. So with Aaron Rodgers, I think it's a little different, obviously. He's a future Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, multiple MVP winner. So I think that's a little different than any of the other offseason wins we've had over the last decade and a half. Dude, I think no matter what the package is, if it's not crazy, like Lamar's 3 first-round picks, I think is a little crazy. Even then, though, it's something I would think about.
And 250 mil, but that's cap. That whole thing with Aaron Rodgers is only 15 million cap.
15 million, right? That's a wide receiver. That's an okay defensive end. That's
half of Daniel Jones' supposed cap this year. That's half of Derek Carr's cap if you trade for him.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, that's why I think it's worth. Like you said, if it's a first-round pick this year, then maybe it's like a second-round swap because they have a higher pick than us, and then it's then a day 2 pick next year, something like that. I'm completely fine with. The 13th pick is tough to lose. Obviously, we would prefer to trade next year's first-round pick, but they would prefer to have this year's first-round pick, and they're trading us a future Hall of Famer. So,
and they know that there's no cap hit. They're aware.
Yeah, that's why they designed it that way. I mean, they didn't come up with that by accident. I definitely think it's all the conversation is going to be around the 13th pick. If we do that, maybe it is, like I said, a second-round swap, so we move up a little bit in the second round, so we can still try to get an offensive lineman there in the second round, because I think that's where we need to focus our attention this offseason. But also, too, through free agency, maybe we can address that. I haven't looked yet. Thank God the Jets have had a good enough season. I'm not familiar with the offensive lineman free agency market for this free off season. So, yeah. So there's things we have to address. One of the ways to address that is through the draft. If we give up our first and second round pick, it definitely makes it a lot harder to address serious needs with the draft. But that being said, Joe Douglas has showed us he can do some pretty good damage with third, fourth, fifth round picks, a la Michael Clemens, a la Max Mitchell before he went down with a serious injury. There's a couple other people there too. So I think whatever the package is for Rodgers is you gotta do it. You gotta buy it. You gotta say yes. Get him in the building. Get to the playoffs and then go from there. Because, like you said, on the screen with us, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, plus a whole bunch of other weapons we don't have here, plus an offensive line, plus free agents that are coming into play with Aaron Rodgers. All of a sudden, you're looking at a really good offense that can take huge leaps because we were so bad last year. And we need to be mediocre. If we're a great offense, that's awesome. If we're a mediocre offense, I think, what was it? If we scored 17 points a game, we would have made the playoffs this year. We couldn't do that because our defense is just so damn good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're
What do you think? Do
talking.
you think it's too rich? Do you think you wouldn't trade the 13th overall pick for Aaron Rodgers?
That's the thing, man. We're talking Mike McGlinchey here. Like if Mike McGlinchey, the free agent right tackle from Notre Dame and obviously San Francisco, who had an off, not the best year of his career, probably the
Mhm.
worst year of his NFL career, which is fine. He did pretty good. If that's his worst year. If we could sign him at right tackle for a bargain deal, then I'm okay with, not selecting one of the big boy offensive linemen that are going to be available at 13.
My whole thing is like start week 1 this coming season. We have a stud right tackle. We have the best right tackle in the last 10 years
Who?
drafted. Joe Douglas absolutely knocked it out of the park. He's healthy. He's dominant. He's going to go to a Pro Bowl this year, just like,
What do you think?
you know,
Hypothetical.
yeah, like
Hypothetical
hypothetical.
season. Okay.
Yeah, hypothetical this coming season. He has an incredibly similar to Sauce Gardner. Like he has a Sauce Gardner type year, but at the right tackle position. And Zach Wilson's our quarterback week 1, or Ryan Tannehill's our quarterback week 1, or Derek Carr's our quarterback week 1. How far do we get compared to a George Fant type guy who is not that good at right tackle, who's old and beat up, is in and out of the lineup, but we have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Which one of those two teams, Team A with a stud rookie right tackle, or Team B with Aaron Rodgers, who's getting farther this coming season? Who's winning more games?
Can we have Mike McGlinchey or no? Does that have to be George Fan?
Yeah, you can be
If
whoever
it's
you want. If you
McGlinchey,
want to
we're
be
good to
Mike
go.
McGlinchey, if you want to be George Fan, say it's the worst right tackle. Say it's the worst right tackle of the last 20 years in the NFL.
That's a jet for sure.
Yeah, whoever the worst right tackle is for the last 20 years is starting at our right tackle position. But we have Aaron freaking Rodgers at quarterback for a whole season.
I got you. I just there is a scenario where Aaron Rodgers comes here, Greg. He's amazing, and he's 8-3, and then he tears his bicep because our right tackle stinks.
Of
We
course,
don't have a
of
center.
course.
I mean,
Injury-
and that's Brett Favre literally all over again. And
Aaron-
and I'm haunted by these things, Greg. These things keep me up at night.
Yeah, understandable. I feel like you can't operate like that. It's tough to do. But yeah, injury's definitely a thing. Him losing it's definitely a thing. I mean, he's an older guy. He could wake up one day and not be able to throw the football. We saw with Peyton Manning. We saw with a few other guys. I
saw
don't
with
think that's the
his
case
thumb
for
last
Aaron
year.
Rodgers.
We saw with his thumb last year, and that brings us to the Senior Bowl here, Greg.
Yeah,
where talking offensive linemen. There's a couple offensive linemen at the Senior Bowl here that I've had my eye on.
yeah. I like that they're doing the senior. I like the Senior Bowl week. The Pro Bowl is all the week before the Super Bowl. So there's a ton of reporters down there, a ton of people covering it. It's cool this year too with the Senior Bowl. How last year it was like the Jets and was it the Lions? Was the other team with us down there at the Senior Bowl?
Yep.
This year it's like a mix of teams.
Well, because they have the East and West Shrine Bowl that they're trying to pick up, and so they're now rotating staffs between coaching staffs there versus the Senior Bowl, and then sending coordinators to the other one. So this year the coordinators are at the Senior Bowl.
Yep.
And the coaches are at the East versus West Shrine Bowl, which I've never paid attention to.
Yeah. It's cool.
So this year, one of it's just funny, like all full circle, man. One of the tackles we've been talking about for so long here. And again, these measurements were all from the Senior Bowl Twitter account. That if you're watching on our YouTube here. But we have this tackle here, Blake Freeland, who we've been talking about for like 3 years now, it feels like, because of Zach Wilson. Because, he's been a star left tackle at BYU. The guy, he's listed at 6'8", but in reality, he's 6'7" and a half, basically, 312 pounds, 10-inch hands, 82 and 5/8 wingspan, and 34-inch arms. I mean, the guy's he's a big dude. He had an okay day one, but he got kind of worked the last couple of days, so that's not great. On the other hand,
Yeah, so a couple reps today weren't spectacular, but dude, with these things, it's just so cool. It's so cool. Like I remember last year, you, me, and Alex talking about Christian Watson, going back and forth about him for 2 or 3 weeks, then all leading up to the draft, and then seeing the season he's had. That's why you and I love watching college football. That's why we like talking about this stuff in the off season, because this is where you get a first look at guys who are gonna have a role somewhere in the league at some point, and hopefully it's a good role with the Jets.
yeah, we'll get the wide receivers here a little bit. There's a couple that are really catching my eye in the
Yep.
Senior Bowl as well. But there's 3 offensive linemen in reality. If we were to stay at 13, right? There's Broderick Jones. I mean, there's DeJuan Jones, who's at the Senior Bowl here. There's Paris Johnson,
Yep.
also from Ohio State, and we got I can't say his last name. That kid from Northwestern, right? The tackle,
Yes. Yep.
Peter Swarovski or something. Those are the 3 that we pick if we were sitting there. Whoever drops, we're taking one of them.
Yep.
DeJuan Jones, he's trying to build his stock up. He feels like one of those guys like Tyler Linderbaum that I'm watching all year long, and I'm like, this guy's amazing. What's wrong with him? But I think his issue was he was undersized. Linderbaum, his measurables actually came in small. And then he kept dropping, ended up, the Ravens scooping him. And I was so excited about that. And he had an amazing year. And nobody
Yeah.
talks about that. Like everyone's telling me last year it's stupid. No one drafts a center this high. It's dumb. He's small. He has to be one of the best centers in the league as a rookie. I don't understand. I think DeJuan Jones, the right tackle, is an absolute mammoth of a man. Mammoth, Greg.
Yeah, I was actually surprised to see him participating in this because I didn't think that he really needed to.
Funny you say that. He dominated so much on day 1. I don't know if you know this. He did not practice on the second day, and which is like apparently the big ramp up day on Wednesday.
Yep.
The day we're recording. Apparently he did not practice for a non-injury reason. I think he just dominated so much on Tuesday. He's like, yeah, dude, I'm good. He has the largest wingspan measured here with 89 and 4/8, dude. He makes Freeland look like Muggsy Bogues.
It's insane when you look at these measurables up like side by side. So definitely check us out on the YouTube, Knicks, Jets, etc. on the YouTube channel there. It's insane to look at some of these numbers. Like you said, 89 and a half on the wingspan. I mean, it's absolute monster. 11 and 3. It's on the hand size. It's crazy.
So
6'8".
Dude, yeah. So I would like Aaron Rodgers, but I would also like DeJuan Jones. Like, I want to just keep this first round pick. Like, forget McClinchy for a second. You know what I mean? Take DeJuan Jones, put him as right tackle. You're gonna have AVT as right guard. Maybe Becton is actually healthy at left tackle. If not, maybe that's where you actually spend the money in free agency. Maybe that's where you make, a real trade. Maybe that's where you kind of figure something out at left tackle. We also have the center who is a free agent in McGovern. So who knows what's going to happen there. There's John Michael Schmitz, who I've been watching all year. Greg, you know this from my Minnesota. Oh, man. If we get the Minnesota center and we get Mo Ibrahim, everything's going to come together. I'm going to go find episodes.
There's no way we're getting Ibrahim.
I think he looks like everywhere he's projected. He's going to go so late. He's going to go like 5th round, maybe undrafted, like stuff like that. Dude, if we have his center, and after what happened with Bam Knight, if Mo Ibrahim becomes our next Bam Knight after what Bam Knight did for us in NC State, we were screaming his name. I mean, tell me watching college football is not valuable, man.
Dude, yeah, and also, too, like to your point, Minnesota's had a good rushing offense for the last 2 or 3 years. So this guy's been a focal point of it. 6'3", 306. The real thing for me is the arm size, 32 and 6'8". It's not the biggest, but for center, I think that's not terrible, if I remember correctly. I know for like on the outside, you want like 34 and above, but dude, we need a center. We talked about it last year with Linderbaum. We talked about it a couple years ago with the guy that's on the Chiefs now, right? Were you saying we should get him too? I forget his name, the Chief Center right now.
Oh yeah, Creed Humphrey from
Creed
Oklahoma.
Humphrey. Like,
Oh yeah,
for a
no,
year.
I was an idiot for that too. Oh
Yeah. For a few years we've been talking about center, so we got to address it at some point. Yeah, Schmidt's a good guy. I don't know where he's projected to go right now. I got to do a couple mock drafts over the next week or two to get me revved up for after the Super Bowl when we really dive into this stuff. But if he's a late round guy, maybe it's someone that we can get, maybe someone that we can develop a little bit. I would love it. As we know from this season, we need depth at the offensive line position. So
here's what I'm worried about, though, Greg. If we have a veteran quarterback, if it's Aaron Rodgers, you think he's really going to want to have a rookie center? Those are the things. Those are the things that.
If we get Aaron Rodgers, though, some veteran center will come play center for the Jets for 2 years.
Listen, man, that's never worked for the Jets. No veteran offensive line signing has worked for the Jets.
That's not true. That's not true. Morgan Moses 2 years ago was good.
Yeah.
Fant was good 2 years ago that we kept him around. I think that Dwayne Brown's going to have off-season surgery, and if he's healthy, I think he comes back. If we get like Rodgers, maybe he's not good enough to start for us. He shouldn't be starting for us. To your point, maybe it's Mekhi Becton, but maybe he's a rotational piece. If someone gets hurt. And this way, you're a veteran guy, a savvy guy. You can help train up the young guys and AVT and Becton and then fill in if need be, God willing. I think we've had okay. We've had some okay. We've definitely missed a lot at the offensive line position. And we've kept taking shots at the offensive line position because it's such a need. So we have to keep drafting. We have to keep addressing it. It's not going anywhere. It's one of the most important positions in all football. And we just haven't had a good offensive line in 15 years. And there's a reason why we haven't been to the playoffs in 15 years.
Facts. I mean, speaking of the wide receiver position, there's a couple of guys out here in the Senior Bowl that I've been screaming about. I think my Christian Watson this year is Andrea Yeshivas. I think that's how you say his name, from Princeton. He's an absolute monster. I had to look up what the word heptathlon. I still don't even know if I can say it correctly.
6 events or whatever, 5 events.
Because he was breaking the record for 60 meters. He might get a 4.240.
Yeah, right. It's right. His big thing is the measurables are off the chart, similar to kind of Christian Watson, right?
Yeah, I'll pull up his measurables, but he's also been impressing and kind of moving up the charts along with. And here we go again. The other BYU wide receiver, which is interesting here because it was noted a couple times by a couple different reporters that the quarterback position at the Senior Bowl this year not doing anybody any favors. They mentioned Rashi Rice from SMU, who had a phenomenal year. They mentioned maybe the wide receiver position didn't really do much. The quarterback position didn't do much to help the wide receiver position. Andre Yeshivas clocked in at 6'2", 212 pounds, 76 and 6/8 wingspan, 31 5/8 arm, 8 and 5/8 hand, 6'2", 212. He's a beast, man. I mean, I could pull up highlights for you if you want, but he's really been impressing me. There's Jalen Reed as well. There's a couple of good guys out here. I'm really excited for this actual game to happen. Is there anybody? I know you said you haven't done a deep dive here, and you kind of wanted to know about specific positions. So I ask you, is there anybody that's been on your mind from the Senior Bowl? Are there any specific positions that you're looking at? I know Hendon Hooker, Tennessee quarterback, he's there too. Max Duggan, a couple of quarterbacks that maybe might be interested in taking late. Any other position? The cornerbacks have looked okay, but the wide receivers been looking pretty good, especially Reed and Yeshivas on them. So,
yeah, I'm pulling up the rosters real quick. I know that the DBs have been talked about a good amount, to your point. And the wide receivers, those have been the kind of the big highlight matchups, which is true kind of in the NFL now, right? It's a passing league. It's a wide receiver and DB league. We luckily have 2 great young guys in Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. So I think we're all set at that position, which is godsend if it's true. That would be great. The quarterback thing threw me off a little bit because I think the quarterbacks here are okay. They're not incredible, but I saw Malik Cunningham was on one. That's a guy, if you follow Winning Pigs Weekly, that me and Chip talked about quite a lot over the last year or so. And now I'm just trying to find real quick the quarterbacks for the other team. But to me, there's no real. I like the kid from Houston. What was the name? Clayton Tune.
Mm-hmm.
He had a pretty good year too. Obviously, Hendon Hooker,
Yeah.
Max Duggan, but those guys are going to be fine.
They have not looked good.
Yeah. To me, it's offensive line. It's what we need. So I think maybe next episode we kind of do a deep dive once the Senior Bowl finishes up, and we get tape and game film from these guys. Next episode, we do a little bit of a deep dive into our roster and what we need position wise. Because to me, something that I always bring up, even though the Jets are adamant that we're okay here, is the linebacker position. And what are these guys bringing to the table? Because this is somewhere where we talked about again last year, Shenault. We talked about a few different guys that were 3rd, 4th, 5th round guys that had pretty good seasons, pretty good impacts on their teams that played in the Senior Bowl last year. So maybe there is a linebacker out here somewhere that we can find to fill a role for us. Because like I said, despite what our coaches say, I really do think that a linebacker is a need for us. Andre Carter from Army's out here. I like to see that. Go Army, beat Navy.
Yeah, there's a couple guys here to keep your eye on. Hutchinson from Iowa State as well. Of course, Tank has been a beast. Tank Dell, he's been good too. So a couple wide receivers to keep your eye on. Again, Yeshivas is still my guy here. Reed, good. SMU kid, BYU kid, Hutchinson. Man, I am really excited about this Senior Bowl.
Couple Michigan offensive linemen out there. They always have good offensive linemen. There's a lot of people to watch here. Luckily for us, it's the first time in a long time. I can say there's a few position groups that we're kind of okay at. I think we're okay at tight end. I think we're okay at running back. Maybe we do need one because Breece Hall might not be ready for the start of the season. So maybe
I got a name for you, Greg. I got a name for you, and he's not a rookie.
Does it begin with? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about in the Senior Bowl. But I know who you're gonna say.
Who in the Senior Bowl? What do you like?
The guy from Tulane, Spears. We talked about
so
Tulane.
Good. I want all the Tulane defensive players, by the way, that are coming out.
That's what I'm saying. There's a Tulane linebacker. There's a couple Tulane guys that it's like, okay, maybe that's like for us. Like we said, once we did a dive, we did a lot of Senior Bowl stuff last year. If we keep up with it this year, I think that we're going to find a couple good people. Our coaching staff isn't coaching the team, so we're not as involved as an organization with the Senior Bowl. But still, there are some good guys here. Tulane had an incredible defense, had their best football season ever as a program. There's a reason why that is. They had really good players on that team. So it's not a school that you really see drafted a ton in the NFL. Yeah.
Dorian
so maybe
Williams,
a guy falls around or two because of it.
Dorian Williams, McCon Clark, and Larry Brooks. Those are the 3 guys I have my eye on from Tulane. I would love any of those. Two of those are safeties. Dorian Williams is the backer, so that would be great, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get into the full deep dives.
Jamal Williams was the running back name. Sorry, just before we moved on. That's the name you were going to throw out there, right?
Oh yeah, I was about to get to it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I got you. It's fine. No problem, bro. I'm about to get to it because I don't know if Michael Carter's cutting it on the squad. And Breece Hall's done, but yes, Jamal Williams, I've been screaming at you via text about it. Coming out, listen, there's a reason that players like Jamal Williams go to Good Morning Football during the offseason. There's a reason for it. He is marketing himself. He's marketing himself in the middle of the games. He's a fun guy, fun character. He's marketing himself now on NFL Network in the morning. He's looking for a new contract, Greg. $15 million over 3 years with like 7 to 8 guaranteed is a decent running back contract somehow, some way.
It's crazy.
You add that with Breece. You add Jamal Williams, who led the league in touchdowns. Everyone complains about Nate Hackett being the red zone guy. Great. Everyone complains about Jamal Williams being a red zone guy. Great. Let's put them together and let's see what happens with Breece Hall behind them. If you can give me Jamal Williams, Brees Hall, Bam Knight, and Mo Ibrahim. I mean,
Dude, come
I
on.
mean, that would be the best running
Yeah.
back room I've. And two of those would probably be undrafted free agents. That would be the. That would be
If
the.
Mo Ibrahim doesn't get drafted before the 5th round, then I would say there's honestly an outside shot. I would assume it's because of injury risk. I would assume that's why he's not getting drafted that high. Because before he went down with an injury last season, he was unbelievable.
Well, think about it. Running backs start in the second round. Maybe
Yeah.
Bijan Robinson goes in the first, but running backs start in the second round. So you're already at a disadvantage. You know what I mean? It starts
Yeah.
there. So like,
But
if
if
you get
Mo Ibrahim was never hurt, he would be a 2nd round pick, no doubt or no problem.
yeah,
You know, the Rams would take him with their first pick of the draft because they never have a 1st round pick because they need a running back. And to
listen,
your
man.
point, Robinson will be gone by that point.
Listen, man. Sometimes we talk here and it makes sense to us, and then they come and they tell us that Tariq Woolen's gonna suck at cornerback, and then all of a sudden Tariq Woolen's the best cornerback ever, and I'm just like, I know. I was screaming his name every minute of the draft. Like, why don't we take Woolen? Why don't we take Woolen?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, and then the same thing with DK Metcalf. Everyone told me DK Metcalf is going to suck because he's too big and he can't make cuts. And they made me believe it. And then he ended up being amazing because he's big and jacked and he could make cuts. Ah, Greg, I'm so
Crazy.
excited about this draft. But dude, when I'm looking at, just to close this up right here, we'll end up talking running backs. Oh yeah, also McDuffie's. I'm talking cornerback McDuffie's last year. Everyone told him McDuffie's gonna suck too from Washington. He's amazing. Anyway,
Yeah.
Super
Bowl, right?
He's ranked by CBS Sports NFL Draft Prospect Rankings. He's number 226. Mo Ibrahim in general.
It's crazy.
Out of the running backs, he's 19. The reason why I brought up McDuffie is because the Georgia Tech running back, Dylan McDuffie, is right behind him.
Yes, like I said, something happened. I mean, he was absolutely electric before he got injured. So
he's gonna be a Jet. That's gonna be the guy that I'm screaming about once the draft ends, or like towards the end there when I'm just like we're staring at 6th-round picks. It's gonna be. I'm calling it right now. I'm already starting to get my guys. This Andre Yeshiva is doing well at Senior Bowl is craping my style, Greg.
Yeah,
he's gonna be the Christian Watson guy. He's gonna be moving up, and it's gonna hurt me inside because we're not gonna get him. He's gonna be too high. But he's one guy. If he falls, I need him. The Tulane guys, the safeties, and the linebacker, those have been my guys too. I'm so pissed that Jared Verse is in here. Oh, it hurts my insides. But
I know, and he'll be a top 15 pick next year.
I know. We'll get to that next year. But Mo Ibrahim, bro, and Tory Taylor, the punter from Iowa. I need them, bro. I wonder where Jack Campbell goes too, the linebacker from Iowa. He was looking okay too, but he kind of gives me Chaz Surratt vibes, like where like I like him too much and he's just like a middle of the road. But we'll see.
Yeah.
But that wraps it up here, Greg. Unless you have anything else to add.
No, I think that was a great episode talking about Aaron Rodgers, Nathaniel Hackett, doing a little Pro Bowl or Senior Bowl talk, and then talk a little Jets running back. That was talking running backs.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely good to keep the realistic options on our brain when it comes to quarterback. It's good to keep the narrative just on a little bit of a straight line when we talk about Nate Hackett and Keith Carter. Like, let's not get a little too crazy here. And just to keep updating this little roster, take a look at the offensive tackle free agents. Let us know who you guys like.
Yeah,
for tackle free agents. If there's any NFL guy, if there's any rookies that you have your eye on for the draft, anybody for the Senior Bowl, anybody in the East-West Shrine Bowl that you got your eye on, let us know. And yeah, man, I'm excited for this offseason, dude. It's coming. The next two, it's just my whole life revolves around Tuesdays right now because of Aaron Rodgers Tuesday. It's just like it's so good. I cannot wait until next Tuesday. I cannot wait until the Super Bowl plays, and then we have the Monday after where maybe Eric Bieniemy moves, maybe other coaches move. A car comes to an end. I mean, Tom Brady dropped today. It's coming, dude. Jimmy G news dropped today. All of a sudden, Denver has a coach. I mean, where's Jameis Winston going? That's how we're gonna end this. Before you like, subscribe to our YouTube.
Rate 5 stars.
Before you rate 5 stars. Before you leave us a comment on any audio listening platform, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, you name it, we are there. We also have Winning Picks Weekly. Check us out for the Super Bowl picks. I have a $5 to win 15,000 parlay, 19 leg, and 6 of them hit already. And we're going pretty good in the division today with the Celtics killing the Nets. So tune in over there for some crazy parlays. Greg, how would you feel if we're sitting on the corner, Jameis Winston down in Nova? Such a fine sight to see.
I'd be okay with it. It would be wild. It wouldn't be what we want, but I would be okay with it because it's like Zach Wilson on steroids. A guy that
Jameis Winston and Zach Wilson in one room. That must be hell for Nate Hackett.
That has to be the two opposite ends of everything. I can't imagine what those guys are talking about.
Chaos.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like a guy that can't throw a completion, guy that can't throw an accurate pass, but can throw it 60, 70 yards. Who am I talking about right now? Am I talking about Zach Wilson or am I talking about Jameis Winston? You don't know because they are the same exact guy. But with Winston, you get all the antics, you get the workout drill videos, you get all the extra stuff. And it was Zach Wilson, you get some of that off the field stuff too. But it wouldn't be good. It would get Robert Saleh and these guys fired. We wouldn't be able to make the playoffs. I'd rather have Derek Carr.
I love it so much. All right. That wraps it up. Another Jets episode. Tune in next week. Greg's going to give you a little bit of a deep dive on Derek Carr.
Yes.
Probably the last episode before the Derek Carr situation is at least progressed a little bit. I think he's gonna end up in Carolina regardless, and that's gonna be interesting because Carolina gets around that 30 to 37 degree mark, right on that mark, Greg. So it's gonna be interesting when you go into that deep dive. And we're gonna have more news about Aaron Rodgers next week, and maybe a wide receiver and a quarterback coach.
That'd be beautiful.
And an update on the Senior Bowl.
Perfect. Let's go Jets.
We out. Jets.